Hello, everybody. What's going on? How many wolves are inside you? Just looked at my picture and realized I looked at my OBS and realized I'm wearing this t-shirt. How many wolves are inside you? That's the question of the day. If you made it this far in the video, make sure to answer it. Oh, it's already off the rails. Hello. I'm back from Vegas, and this is my recap video of the Vegas LAN. Which I thought was super fun to be at. I hope you all enjoyed watching, and if you were there, I hope you had a good time. I think it went about as well as it could have, to be honest. All things considered, could have done with an EMEA, as we're calling it, region winning, but oh well, region team winning. But oh well, you can't always get what you want. PBM too powerful. But yeah. Been back since I got back on Thursday afternoon, back to Glasgow, just before the storm hit the UK. Very glad I got back before that happened. And been recovering from jet lag and sickness ever since, as is the pattern coming back from these events. It was strange, the 8-hour time difference as well. I feel like it was rougher to recover to. I was waking up at like 5 in the morning every day. Well, like the first 3 or 4 days I was in Vegas, I just kept waking up at 5 in the morning, just lying there for a bit. And then since I got back, it was the same for it was same for Friday and Saturday. I think I managed to sleep decently since then. But yeah, it was really fun to see everybody. Really nice to catch up with all my friends that I only get to see, maybe once a year if I'm lucky and they qualify and I get to go to these events. I stayed for a couple extra days with some friends and hung out, which was really fun. Got to hang out with the casters, go out for some meals, do some blackjack gambling together. Went out to Hell's Kitchen with some of my Smite online friends, which was cool. You should see some pictures of that right now through the magic of editing. But yeah, that was really nice. I had the set meal with the wine pairing. Which was good. I would say, it wasn't super expensive. But I've definitely had nicer meals for the same amount of money. I think a bit of turnip on my plate was a little undercooked. Some other things. It wasn't, and I didn't like the waiting staff, to be honest. But it was an experience. I would say it's yeah, I wouldn't go back, but it might be worth the visit, especially if you're into Gordon Ramsay and stuff like that. Got the Wellington, the iconic thing, which was that was good. That was the best bit, I would say. But yeah, I'm really thankful to Hi-Rez and I guess in particular Hindu Man for bringing me out to these events and letting me come to them and work at them. And yeah, and thanks to everybody who was making funny signs and stuff like that. I can't believe I did a sock reveal on the desk. It was all good fun. I think a great advert for competitive Smite, and I really hope that with how well the tournament went and how the player numbers are looking, that means that we'll get more Smite 2 competitive soon. I'm really hopeful that we'll get an announcement in the near future. I don't have any insider knowledge, but we'll see. I would expect to hear something in the next week or so, but who knows? Yeah, let's go into the tournament. So, we could start off with the team who did not. There was one team I think didn't really look like they belonged at the tournament, and that was Borscht. I think Borscht looked terrible. Don't know what was going on with them. They looked like they didn't have any idea of the meta. It looked like they were just kind of like playing ranked picks. They hadn't scrimmed. I don't know if they had a lack of practice or if maybe they just had an off day on day one. I don't know. They looked real bad, and I think they were far and away the worst team at the event. And then I think after that you've got Mockingbird and Food Drive for Globe. I think I would have been interested to see a match between these two. I definitely think. Food Drive for Globe did beat Borscht. I think Mockingbird would have beaten Borscht as well. I think that a game between these two would have been interesting. I had really high hopes for Mockingbird, but I think their drafting was pretty poor. And I think, honestly, like, sometimes you just got to call a spade a spade. I think Hawk had a really bad tournament individually. And so they lost their second. Smokebreak 2-1, it was definitely winnable for them. But yeah, I think, for example, I'll pull up the draft. In post-editing Magic, you should see the draft against Smokebreak in game 1. I think taking Uller solo, they wanted to take both the... Was it Uller Medusa? Oh, God, I need to pull it up myself. Was it Uller Medusa or Uller... It was Uller and Medusa they wanted to take away. I guess they thought Uller and Medusa were better, significantly better than Jing, which I think over the tournament we realized they weren't. But yeah, I think taking Uller solo when you know Benko's on the back foot, almost certainly going to pick Bologna. You know, Bologna's kind of meta, I think was a pretty big mistake draft-wise. And then, yeah, I don't know, Food Drive didn't do that much for me. I thought they had an interesting idea with the Mori support Chak mid stuff they were doing. But I wasn't nearly as impressed with their team play compared to other teams as I had been before. I think in previous weeks of competition, like in the qualifying online tournaments and in the qualifying LAN, I thought their team play was sort of a step above, and they had interesting ideas that other teams couldn't necessarily match. Whereas I feel like in this tournament, maybe with the extra practice and stuff, other teams, I feel like, caught up to them, and so I don't think they looked as far ahead in that aspect. I think Tagveer in particular had a pretty quiet event compared to what we're used to. But yeah, I mean they gave a decent performance, and I hope that they stay together. It's been really cool to see these guys grow and compete with the sort of big boys from Smite 1, you know what I mean? I hope these guys stay together. We'll see what happens with Mockingbird. I don't know if they'll stay together, to be honest, but I think they're all great players. I think there's some good young up-and-coming talent on that team, so I hope they keep going and we see more of them in future tournaments. That lemon and ginger tea still slightly sick, but not really sick. Smokebreak were a team I thought outperformed their own expectations, and I would say they outperformed mine. It's a team of like very, very strong individual players, and I think that they played to that, and they played to that well. I think the way that they abused sort of solo 1v1s, and they had Banco gain big leads, Banco previously known as Deathwalker, and they had Johnny in the jungle doing good stuff, and Chrome eventually arrived and played well, and Sap as well. I feel like they played very individual style. You didn't see like crazy team fight combinations from them. That's not what they set out to do. And Leon was there playing Umoja like every game, which was crazy. And I think eventually when they came up against the really strong teams, they couldn't outperform them individually. And then when it came to team fights and drafting, I don't think they were as strong of a team. I don't think they had as strong of a handle on the meta as both Risk and 5Ms did. Leon was playing only Umoja. Sap was forcing Morrigan picks where I don't think she was playable. I'll pull up a draft here where he picked Morrigan last pick, so you've saved your mid pick, you've got it last pick, and you pick it in. I think picking Morrigan into that comp is just suicide. Like, it's not, I don't think it's winnable. I think Banco going to Mulan like several times. I don't know. I know he won on Mulan. I'm not sure anybody should have been winning on Mulan. I don't really believe in that too much, but it worked. He made it work. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like if they had a bit more practice, a bit more depth of strategy, they mentioned on stage in one of the interviews that they hadn't scrimmed. So yeah, they coming third place, third out of every Smite team in the world without any real serious practice is pretty impressive regardless. So kudos to them. I wonder if we'll see them stay together. Almost certainly not. Can't really divulge, but there are I believe there's a bit of a rift within that team. Maybe the drab will come out at some point. Not from me though. Anyway, Team Risk. Risk. Did anybody expect them to turn it around like they did going into the tournament at the very start after Variety and Laspra, Variety in particular, dropped a generational stinker at the qualification LAN. It was impressive how bad he was. It was like I don't even know how to. I don't know how to say it. He was so bad. But yeah, he stank in that tournament. But in this tournament, he was smelling of roses. I think he started the tournament on fire. I think Variety Thor might have been like the player god combo of the event. I think Danny Q Hecate may be up there. Spoilers for later, but yeah. Any mid laner in Hecate kind of. I feel like Variety Thor might have been a special one. Very, very, very impressive from him. They start the tournament really strong. I think Streak truly announced himself as like a top ADC this event. I think he took Cyclone to school in that winner's bracket semi-final matchup where Risk won 3-1. They get onto the final and they get a rematch against 5Ms. And I think this is where the limitations of Risk started to get found out. They had much less of an ability to adapt and outdraft simply because they didn't play Afro and Aladdin, and they weren't willing to play against Afro and Aladdin. They banned both characters in the 4 games in the winner's bracket semi. They took till game 4 of the final to let either of them through. They let Afro through, and then they let Aladdin through. They won against Afro, and then they lost against Aladdin, I think, if I remember right. Well, they definitely lost against Aladdin. I'm sure they won against Afro. I definitely remember right. Whether it was game 4 and 5, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was. But I think if you wanted to test letting one of them through, you should have done it way earlier in the set. I think it was a little bit of... I hated that they went into that set doing exactly what they'd done. I know it had worked previously, but I think if you were ever going to test Aladdin or prove that you could play it, or prove that you could play against it, you should have done it early in the set. They do it late on. They end up locked into those 2 bans anyway in that game 6, and I think their game 6 draft was where they truly got found out. Laspra seemed... I don't know if Laspra ran out of gods or what. There was definitely stuff which he was able to play still available. They took away his Thana, they took away his Athena, they took away his Fenrir, was sort of the plan from 5Ms, I think. But, I mean, low-key into that comp, I feel like was so bad. There are limitations on pick and ban time at this event. They didn't have a whole lot of time to... it was using the draft stuff. I think there's like less than 30 seconds per pick. I'm not sure. And when we were trying to talk about it on the desk, it felt like it was flying by. There was no time to talk about drafts, and it must have been the same for the players. They just had to pick a thing and go for it. But I think that this game 5 draft, the game 6 draft rather, from Team Risk was pretty bad. They get run over. Their comp was just worse. Like, I don't know where you think they're better there. Maybe support. I guess Ymir is probably a better god in support than Fen, but it's a decent matchup for Fen. But yeah, 5Ms win it. 5Ms, very, very impressive in of themselves. I don't know. I think most of the players could have had a run at MVP. I think particularly the core of PBM, Benny, and Scream. You might look at for MVP. Cherry got run over in a couple games. Scream also had that horrible Mordred game at one point. Cyclone, I think, came into the tournament later on playing well, but like really struggled in that first set against Streak. So yeah, I think we as the talent team, casters, analysts get to vote for MVP, and I voted for BennyQ because I think he was the most consistent. And I think, I don't know, something nice about a player who maybe hasn't been in that position before, making it like PBM. I could have voted PBM, could have gone PBM another MVP, but I don't know. As PBM, he didn't win MVP season 4. He didn't win MVP season 10. So I guess he's never had an MVP in Smite 1 either. Maybe he's had one in another tournament. But he knows he's good. Let Benny have his flowers this time. But yeah, Benny on the Hecate was great. Benny on the Agni was great. Benny on the Ra, I would say decent. Not terrible, but maybe yeah, maybe that was the one pick he should have. He figured it out though. He didn't try and force to go back to it, which I like. Like he played it a couple times and he was like, okay, that's enough of the Ra. We'll go and we'll play the other stuff. So yeah, I still can't believe there were 2 junglers at the event that were not willing to pick Aladdin. That is crazy to me. Johnny and Laspra, neither of them. I mean, what are we doing here, man? The god is so broken. He's ridiculous. What is happening? They were scrimming as well. Well, I mean, like Laspra was scrimming for sure. So I just don't get it. I just can't understand it. I feel like the final first set scoreline being 3-2 to 5Ms, slightly flattered Risk. I do think they were outplayed across the whole, the 6-game set pretty handedly. That game 6 was obviously a stomp. And yeah, I guess picks of the tournament for each role. Solo, Thor, I think is number 1, and then sort of Hades and Shaq in behind that. Those were the picks that I think were most impressive. I'm trying to think if I'm missing anything in solo. I don't think so. Jungle, Thanatos was really strong for a lot of players, and then like some just didn't really play it at all, but I think Thanatos, very, very strong. Pele, particularly for Scream, pretty much only for Scream. And Athena in the jungle I thought was very strong as well. Mid, maybe Fan in the jungle also. Mid, Hecate. I think it's just Hecate. She was head and shoulders above all of the other mid picks at this event. I think it wasn't particularly close. I think teams eventually figured out that they needed to value her higher. I'm still not sure she was valued highly enough. I would almost rather in that game 6 have been letting Hecate through. I mean, letting Afro through and banning Hecate away from Benny Q. But it is what it is. Support, Yamoja, Ymir, Geb, I think, were the top picks for me in support. We saw a little bit of Sobek as well, but I think these 3 were definitely better. And then ADC, not Medusa, I would say. Definitely Jingwei and Uller. I think Uller was probably the best pick, but Jingwei really not far behind. I think she's probably the best pick. Well, she was the best pick in ranked up until today when the Gilded Arrow and the Sharpshooter Bow or whatever it's called got nerfed. Man, she was chunking. I don't know if you all saw the Nika clip where he hits like an 1800 crit on a Sol and then gets a quadra kill. It's obscene. Maybe I'll include it here. Nah, I'll link to it. I'll link to it in the description down below. So if you want to check that out, check it out. But yeah, remember, and I don't know. I think that's it from me. Glad to talk to you all. I would give you a pub quiz update, but we stank it up last night. Wasn't good at all from us. So just remember that we're bad. We're bad at the pub quiz. That'll do. I'm gonna get this video finished off and edit it up to include some images of drafts and stuff. Hope you're having a great week. Hope you're enjoying Smite 2. Hope to see you in the queues. And I'll see you all next time, whenever that is. Bye.